solid waste of the Brooklyn Solid Waste Advisory Board. Tonight we have a couple things up on the agenda. We have the Independent Budget Office, Hannah and Ryan here tonight. They'll be starting pretty soon. We also have elections tonight and committee updates. But I wanted to thank Beth Slepian for bringing this to our attention. She met both Hannah and Ryan, I think, as well, or just Hannah, at a meeting, and basically really thought it would be a great idea for the Independent Budget Office to come and talk to us about their recent report on curbside composting. So we're very excited to hear about that report, what prompted it, and your ideas about what should be coming up next. So without further ado,
do introduction?
Oh yes, let's do it. I always forget introductions. All right, thank you so much, Lacey. And with that, to introduce everyone here, my name is Mary Ellen Sullivan. I'm chair of the Brooklyn Solid Waste Advisory Board, and maybe go over to Lacey.
I'm Lacey Tauber. I am the legislative director for the Brooklyn Borough President's Office.
I'm Rhonda Kaiser. I'm vice chair of the Brooklyn SWAB.
I'm Frederick Phillips. I'm a master composter and composter in Brownsville, East New York.
Kendall Christensen, SWAT member since 1992.
Audrey Jenkins, doctoral candidate at the new school. Yeah, I guess a new SWAB attendee. I don't know if I'm a member. I don't know how to get
Well, just apply and you can be a member.
I'll apply. Okay.
Fantastic.
I'm Rebecca Bishop. I'm just a community member. I've always wanted to come to these meetings, but as I was saying, I couldn't come on Mondays, so I'm very excited. There are no Tuesdays. I've always been interested. I do work in the sustainability space, so that's some place I am very passionate about.
Oh, good. Did you say?
Thank you for inviting us here. I'm Ryan Dougherty. I'm an environmental budget and policy analyst at the Independent Budget Office.
Yeah, and I'm Hannah. I'm a community engagement specialist. And I'm here for moral support for Ryan.
All right, terrific. And if everyone, and I forgot to mention it, but if everyone within the chat could introduce yourself online, talk about your organization, or if you're just affiliated with the SWAB, which is a fabulous thing as well. So with that, unless we have any additional suggestions or objections, we'll get started with the Independent Budget Office. And let me share the screen and we'll get you situated. All right, and you can just let me know when you'd like me to advance.
Perfect.
All right.
So we have an introduction. Let's get that.
Okay. Oops, hold on. Okay. There we go.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm first just going to talk really briefly about what IBO is and how we fit into city government. So we're a non-partisan city agency. That means that most of the city agencies are under mayoral control, but we're a little unique because we kind of sit outside of that umbrella, and that allows us to do independent oversight and analyses of the city budget. We're also a relatively small agency compared to other city agencies. So we have around 40 staff analysts that look at different areas of the city budget. And then just to go over some of our work, so we can advance. One of the things that we do throughout the year is do our own independent analyses of New York City's revenues and expenses. So we most recently did this with the preliminary budget. We looked at all the revenues that are coming in from different federal, state, and local sources. That's a pretty dense report, but we can send it your way if you're interested in the city budget. We also, one thing that we're very proud of is that we did also call out the city gap for the previous administration. But yeah, that's kind of some of the work that we do for the budget. We're also headed into budget season really soon. And so if there are any questions that you have on what to look out for in the budget or changes that we are seeing, you can feel free to reach out to us with any of those questions too. Throughout the year when it's not budget season, so budget season, that being like usually January to around July, when all those different budget plans are coming out, we focus on doing year-round policy reports. So these policy reports are really intended to inform everyone on just like how city programs and operations work. And so we have different teams that look at things like education, education being our largest team because New York City does spend the largest amount on public schools. We also look at housing, healthcare, city agency staffing, and a host of other things. And so you can always feel free to reach out to us with questions on that. We also take requests. So we get a lot of requests from community boards, city council members, and all different groups. And so if you're interested in like seeing what a program would look like if we priced it out, or if the city implemented a certain type of new program for whatever you could think of, we do that work as well too upon request. Lastly, if we could advance to the next slide, we do presentations and offer general resources. And so we do a lot of budget 101s for any group that's interested in learning about the city budget. It is really complicated. I've been working here for almost 2 years and I feel like I'm only starting to get the hang of it. We also do a lot of budget education for high schoolers and college students. So if you're interested in like us coming to your high school or talking to a group of students, we can do that as well. I used to be a middle school teacher in the city, so I love doing that type of work. And we're always around for any type of budget question you might have. Yeah, we can go next slide.
Hannah, since I'm the historian in the room, I would add that the IBO played a very useful role in the mid-90s for the first decade of the city's recycling program in helping to analyze the comparative cost of recycling versus trash. And helping there was a debate at that time over which was most more or less expensive and how to rationalize the two systems.
And I believe Ryan will be also pricing out or talking about our price out for composting too and how that compares. And so just to highlight some things coming out in the New York City budget process, we have the executive budget, which was pushed back because of the state budget being late. That will come out May 12th. That will kick off our work and all the other city agencies' work around the city budget. And then we'll be issuing our independent analyses by June 1st. But if people are like wondering, a lot of people reach out to us during this time period because they're like, oh, I really care about this program. Is it being cut? Is money being added? Those are the types of questions we can help you track as well.
Hold on 1 second, sorry. Whoever is transcribing the meeting, can you please not do that? Our office doesn't allow transcription of our meetings by AI because it becomes spoilable and usually they are wrong. And so if you could not do that, we would appreciate it. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. And then just to highlight, if we can go to the next thing, just some of the recent IBO reports, and I just kind of looked at your site and saw looked at kind of the other topics you might be interested in. We do some work around parks as well that Ryan does. Parks is like a little complicated too because a lot of parks are supported with conservancy money or privately funded, but Ryan does all the work around publicly funded parks and programming. We also recently published a report on City Bike because Lyft, who is the operator, said that they did not profit from City Bike, but we found in our report that they do, and significantly so. So yeah, if you're interested in that, you can read. We also did a recent report on cooling centers. So cooling centers are just publicly available things like libraries that are available to elderly or houseless people during the summer. We found though that the city does not currently support any of these centers with like city programming money, but it is potentially something that could be added to this next budget. And then lastly, climate budgeting. Climate budgeting is a program that was started under the Adams administration and basically rates all city properties to align with like local law 99 goals. And so if that's any of these topics interest you, we can do a presentation or talk you through the findings of the report as well.
Have the fines for that started if people's building aren't meeting the grade?
For climate budgeting?
Yeah.
Yes, but we found that half of capital projects and like properties the city owns are unrated, and so it's really hard to like find someone if they're not like reporting.
Got it. Okay.
So, yeah.
What's your website?
Sorry?
Website.
It's ibo.nyc.gov, and there'll be a QR code at the end too if you want to, but I will send over like all these reports and details to you.
Perfect.
And then I'm going to turn over to Ryan because he is the author of this report.
Perfect.
All
Should I
right,
go to the next page?
please do.
Okay. And further?
Yeah, one more.
Okay. All right.
Okay, great. Okay, so this report came out in early April. So if there's anything that is questioned at the end, or you want to go back to the report, that will also be sent at the end of this as well. But it's also on our website. So the main thing we were looking at, the mandatory separation of organics happened last year. I'm sure everyone knows. And so about a full year had gone by, and we wanted to kind of analyze what was going on with that. And when we were doing some of our initial analysis, we found that the currents of enforcement versus the months where enforcement was not happening seemed to have a role in how much composting was going on in the city. So one portion of the report was mainly about publishing current trends compared to when it was a voluntary program. And then the other part was looking at what kind of actions the city took made a difference in weekly and annual composting rates. So we looked at data from city fiscal years 2013 to 2025. That's when the voluntary program really picked up speed in 2013. Through all of these administrations, starting with Bloomberg and then all the way to Mamdani now. And then we looked at the efficacy of some of the enforcement methods and maybe also possibility of other options in the future. You can go on the next slide, please. Okay. So I'll start by just explaining this is a graph of the annual collection tonnage starting in 2013. There is some data before that, but this is when only kind of school programs and voluntary drop-off sites were going on. You can click through. There's some text that comes up. Yeah. So that's okay. That's my bad. But so in 2023, DSNY came out with this waste characterization study, and it said that organics made up roughly 36% of the entire waste stream, which is the most out of any of the sectors within the waste stream. Trash actually only makes up 25% if we end up diverting all of the material that is possible to divert. So out of that 36% in 2025, the city diverted 2.4% organic material, which from 2024 was a 68% increase. So that is a large increase year to year. However, it's still, there's a lot of potential that we're looking at here. You can go to the next slide, please.
Yeah, we got it.
So this is just for anyone who's not completely familiar with what was going on with organics over the years. The program started in the 90s, even when recycling had started, but it never gained the same traction as recycling, and it didn't have as many funds or educational resources going toward it. And then the local law 77 in 2013 created the voluntary program. It was only open in certain boroughs and certain neighborhoods in the city and sanitation districts. But it was gaining steam all the way through 2020 until the budget was cut due to COVID. Then we kind of started from square one, but there was still a lot of urge to continue the program and get it kind of uplifted again. So it gained traction again once funding was restored. And by 2024, 5 years after the beginning of COVID, the rates for annual composting were kind of about the same. So then in 2024, the mandatory curbside organics composting began with warnings. So there were supposed to be fines, but they reduced that to warnings initially. And DSNY did a lot of outreach campaigns, and so that there was time before the fines began. April 1st was the beginning of the fine period, and there was some pushback after that. And then the official statement from the Adams administration for stopping it on April 18th, less than 3 weeks later, was that they wanted to allow DSNY more time for outreach and education. So that's about the modern timeline of organics. And we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so there's two bars on this chart here. One bar on the left is the actual kind of waste stream that we saw in 2025. So the breakdown between trash and paper recycling and metal, glass, plastic, and then others like big things and electronics and batteries and hazardous waste which can be recycled, but it requires going to drop-off sites and stuff like that. And then organics. So that's the little orange bar on the left. That is the 2.4% we talked about earlier from 2025. On the right is what potentially could be diverted if the city was diverting all residential waste that it could. So that larger bar on the right, that's orange, is 36%. That's what that would represent. Trash only being 25%. Metal, glass, plastic, and paper could about double. Right now, their diversion rate combined is about 16 to 17%, and they represent about 33, 34% combined in the waste stream. But organics, again, 36%. So it's even more than all the metal, glass, plastic, and the paper that's in the system. So yeah, as of 2025, with organics, metal, glass, plastic, and paper, the total diversion rate's about 17%. So this is a breakdown of the weekly organics collected from, it starts in October 2024 and goes till the end of 2025 there. So there's a green arrow on the left and a red arrow right on the right. That is the difference between April 1st and April 18th. So that's when the fine enforcement started versus ended, just that 3-week period. During that 3-week period, there was a 192% increase in weekly organics collected. And there were a decent amount of fines that were given out, over 4,000. It totaled about 160,000 in fine revenue for the city. After that, again, it went cold turkey. There was no more fines, just about. There were very few given out. It was they were only given out after 5 warnings were issued. That was the breakdown there. So once the fines stopped on April 18th, there was still a little bit of an uptick going into May. Then it plateaued, and weekly collections started to decline until you get to the fall, which is where you have yard waste and leaf collection. And historically, IBO has found that period in October and November always has an uptick anyway. Right after that period, you see we get to December, and it continues to decline. So between May and December in 2025, after the enforcement period, there was a 43% reduction in weekly organics collected. Please, thank you. Right, so in 2021, IBO released a report about the voluntary program and the cost of conducting this voluntary program. So trucks were going out just like they were for recycling and trash, and there's a processing cost and there's a collection cost. So every truck still requires the same amount of salaried employees to go out, regardless of how much trash or waste of any kind they collect. So when organics was voluntary, not a lot of people were actually using it. They weren't actually throwing out properly their organic waste. So when a truck would go out, it just would not collect enough organic waste. It wouldn't fill the bed. So when a bed is completely unfilled, that means that the collection cost is very high per truck run that goes out, because you're paying the same amount of salary to collect much less material. So that's why the collection cost is so high. It was about 602 compared to 86 for trash and 167 for recycling. This is data that I'll mention. This is from 2021, so this is something that IBO plans to update, but we did want to wait one more year for the organics, the mandatory separation of organics, kind of for more data to come in before we analyze the cost of the program. And you can click to the next point. Thank you. So to reach cost parity, there would have to be a lot more organic waste that's being put out on the curbs, and that would make it so that the collection costs would go down, which is the dark blue in this bar chart here. And then as well, once there's a lot of mass coming into these processing facilities, in Long Island and Brooklyn and New Jersey, then the processing costs will also decrease for organic waste.
Will decrease or increase?
Decrease. And of course, we'll have to see that, but that is the estimate
Based on what?
based on the 2021 report. So based on the fact that it takes a lot of money to operate a system that just doesn't have a lot of material coming in.
You mentioned Staten Island.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, most of the organic waste is coming to Staten Island at this point. They're opening a Brooklyn facility, and there are talks about more organic waste going to New Jersey. But those are what the plans are at the moment.
Next one.
Yes, please. Okay, so this is part of the chart that we saw earlier. So the blue line there is just the actual organic waste collected annually. So we're about 100,000 tons. So that was the 2.4% from 2025 out of the 36% potential there. So DSNY released in their zero waste report in 2025 some projections that they thought that organic waste would increase over the years through 2036. It was about 30% and then decreases over time as you get closer to 2036, 30% increases year over year. Eventually they're estimating that will plateau. So we asked DSNY, did they incorporate enforcement into these projections? But they replied that they modeled it after systems that did not actually enforce and didn't fine for not separating organic waste properly. So their projection is based off of non-enforcement and only kind of education and outreach. And when you get to 2036 there, that's about 400,000 tons collected annually. That only represents 11.5% out of the 36% of the total organic waste in the waste stream. So that's about a little less than 1/3 of all of the waste, of organic waste that could be diverted. And based on our 2021 report, and again, we will update these numbers, but in order to reach cost parity, we would have needed 15%. So by 2036, DSNY is only projecting 11.5%.
And is that cost parity with metal, glass, plastic, or
with trash and metal, glass, plastic? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go on, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
No,
it's the same.
that's right. Okay.
Yeah, just similar points here. So New York City sends most of its trash out to landfills that are out of state. These export costs are only rising in the city. And one thing that could reduce these export costs is making sure that we're using our organic waste facilities to the fullest extent possible, meaning that we're not exporting as much garbage out of the state, where these tipping fees in landfills are very high. In the Northeast specifically, and on the East Coast, the tipping fees are increasing the most out of anywhere in the country. And it has to do generally with the density of people in the Northeast and the land costs and everything. But tipping fees are higher around New York City than anywhere else in the country. And reducing the waste that we have to export would really probably beneficially impact the amount of money that DSNY has to allocate to exporting waste. And this is also something OMB had decreased their organics processing budgets in the out years beyond 2026. Now it's something that they will adjust as needed, but they're assessing that the processing costs will go down. So we'll see if that becomes the case or not.
There's a question in the chat.
Yeah, please ask.
Allison asks, did they just say most of the organics that DSNY collects goes to Staten Island for composting? Last she heard 60% was going to Newtown Creek for co-digestion, with 40% going to Staten Island. Do you have the data on where that's going, or did you already say that?
In this report, it's not in the report. So if I misspoke, then
no. I think she's just clarifying.
No, that's okay. Yeah. But a good chunk of it's going to Staten Island, but we can talk about the breakdowns after. I could find that information later. Yeah. Part of the report was a comparison between the New York City and San Francisco systems. So San Francisco has an older and more established program. They had a mandatory program that started in 2009, and their voluntary program goes back even further.
Mhm.
So, and they, as a large municipal system and city, they're looked at as the most successful in the country. They have pretty high diversion rates of about 50% combined. It's not organics alone, but combined diversion rate about 50% with recycling as well. But their system is different. They have a private contractor who collects all commercial and residential waste, and it's called Recology. So they charge per bin and per bin size that you own. So in 2009, when it became a mandatory system, the organics bins were free. So the incentive was that if you fill up this bin with as much organic waste properly as possible, you can have a smaller trash bin, and then your monthly rate for trash collection will decrease. And the same.
Isn't the city distributing trash bins that are larger than the organic?
San Francisco?
No, here.
Here. There are different sizes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But the standard bins that they've given out are larger than the brown bins.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's that send around message.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah. So, I mean, that's a good point. But the incentive structure is different with San Francisco, where, of course, it's part of the tax system here, where DSNY residential waste collection is just paid for through the taxes. So the incentive difference is that in San Francisco, nobody was fined. Nobody was really fined. They were just kind of encouraged through you would have to pay less for waste collection instead of not doing it properly and then being fined, which is the system in New York. IBO is not also advocating that we use San Francisco's system. It's just kind of a comparison here. In the recent testimony in the preliminary budget, the DSNY commissioner did discuss the possibility of, in the commercial waste sector, having a pay-as-you-throw system where these commercial waste, and companies that have to pay for their private hauling, they would be charged less for recycling and organic waste compared to trash. So in the commercial sector in New York City, that is more similar to what San Francisco does. And that's something that DSNY is talking about implementing, but it's still working on commercial waste zones at the moment. And that's, as the commissioner said in the testimony, their main focus right now. But that is something that they might do. And so that was most of the data there. Hannah, if you want to say anything else here.
Yeah, I mean, just to summarize, these are kind of like the suggestions from the paper, but we also wanted to hear maybe if we could start with questions from everyone, but also just to start the conversation, these were some questions that we kind of wanted to hear from you as well. Like Ryan said, they are going to be repricing that 2021 report in about a year or so, but it does take us a while to get reports like written and lay out the process for that. So we also wanted to hear from you about your work, particularly in terms of like other maybe strategies that you floated in this group besides just fining. That's something that we're really interested in. We're also really interested in hearing about like any barriers that you feel like people have to participating in the program, and then just starting from there as well.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I know that there's been a lot of news coverage about the Mamdani administration starting enforcement again, getting to fines around the level of what the Adams administration did in April. Do you have any information about that? And if that's something that they continue or plan on continuing to do?
Did you ask if Mamdani wants to pick up on the findings?
Well, yeah. So basically, I think there was reports within the Gothamists that they've gotten to over 4,000 fines issued in April. So it was very limited. It was around 400 in maybe January, February, March, and then April. Boom.
Yeah. So I was I did read that article, and I was curious about it because our report stopped looking at fines in March because we published in April.
Right.
So I haven't actually I'm sure the data is likely correct,
Mhm.
but I have not looked into it myself. I would be surprised if they did increase it that much, because it was between January and the end of March. It was like 400 fines total,
Okay.
which in the report we talk about only represented about 3% of the fine rate that Adams had during that 3-week period.
Okay.
Yeah. So they might be picking it up again. That we did testify, to the sanitation committee, and Justin Sanchez was there, and so was the commissioner. So, they took the testimony and maybe they listened to it and liked it. Who knows?
All right. Any questions from the floor or from the chat? Okay. Kendall, why don't you go ahead?
Thanks. Just a few. One is about, you said you're still looking at the comparative cost of collection.
Mhm.
I'm waiting for your data on that. What's your presumption about the amount of tons per truck that's currently being collected?
Well, the presumption is just that DSNY's goal is always to fill a truck bed. So they design all of their routes to make sure that there's the high probability that the truck bed's full.
So a trash truck loads out about 10 tons.
Yeah.
Recycling truck loads out about 5.
Mm-hmm.
Because the difference in the nature of the material and the plastic and the like. So what are they collecting?
So we don't have the
several years ago was they were collecting like 2 tons per truck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a count of the number of trucks that were added?
No, that's something we've asked for certain data like that, and they just either they don't have it or they're not divulging.
50, one community districts, if there are 2 routes per district, that's 100 trucks. Per.
Yeah, it'd be something we'd be interested in, but I don't have the data about it.
And then the corollary to that is asking about vehicle miles traveled. How many additional miles are being traveled by those collection trucks?
Yeah.
As part of the overall.
Yeah.
And then finally, what was your presumption about processing costs?
They would decrease.
But what's your, put a dollar amount. What's the city currently paying for processing?
As of 2021, it was a little bit more than what they were paying for trash and recycling. So again, this is something that we plan to look into. I don't have a number. It needs to be updated. Back in 2021, it was still a voluntary program.
Because it's pretty well understood in the composting industry that the cost of composting isn't necessarily cheaper than the alternatives. And so it's useful to sort of take a close look at those.
Some of the savings could potentially come from commercial use in marine transfer stations. So if
that would boost costs.
Well, they would charge the commercial waste to be shipped out of the marine transfer stations if there was less volume from residential waste.
Okay. It seems like there's room for further analysis later.
Yeah.
Maybe the person I talked to understood them.
Yeah.
Oh, I realized I had the same question as Allison in
Okay.
the chat,
Thank you.
which was about outreach and education. Did you look at what sanitation is spending on that and in comparison to other cities at all?
We did not. So it mainly, the report revolved around enforcement and the patterns that we saw there. During the testimony, during the preliminary budgets, the commissioner was certainly more focused on educational outreach. They cited that there was a $2 million grant that they were, I don't exactly remember, it may have been a federal grant that they got for these educational purposes. I know they're doing a lot of school programs, and they cited that they wanted to kind of do like a similar campaign to seatbelts in a sense, where you teach the kids and then the kids go home. And
Back in the 70s.
Parents.
70s. Yeah, whole different
Yeah,
world
my
now.
experience has been it's been like looking at the budget, it's been hard to parse out
Yes.
outreach and education because so much of it is in house. So it's like parts of people's salaries and you can't really tell like how much is going to what program.
Right. It would be something that we'd have to kind of ask them about and where we could kind of divide the budget and get a more accurate assessment.
Yep, interesting. It seems like we've got a bunch of questions in the chat as well. If this is a good indication of the order, maybe we'll go to Beth and then Matt.
Oh yeah, Beth has a question from early on.
Sure. I'm actually not addressing my question that's in the chat, though there's like hot topics about Newtown Creek in the chat, but that's always a hot topic here, so I'm gonna share something else. Uh, we can maybe get back to that. I actually wanted to respond to the question that you posed about what's getting residents and buildings to consistently compost, and I would like to share two pieces of anecdotal data which are anecdotal, but one is my own building, which is about 98 units, did not provide brown bins for about a year, even though I requested them, until fines went into effect. And then magically the bins appeared. And also signage telling residents what to do. And the other thing that I will share is that I am a member of Community Board 12 in Brooklyn, which is Kensington and Borough Park, which historically is a community that has been very opposed to participating in organics collection. And I will say that at our last community board meeting, which was 1 week ago, it was very interesting to me that there were several questions from community board members about getting organics bins. And so it's seeming like people are starting to participate, and I truly believe this is because of enforcement and not education and outreach. And there were also questions, and I'm curious if you happen to come across this at all in your research, but probably not yet. But the question of being able to get bins and how easy it is to get brown bins came up in our meeting. And it's my understanding now that they're only available at Home Depots and not locally. And I would be really curious to learn more about data on participation rates as they correlate to how easy it is to get brown bins and have them. And have enough of them. Currently in my building, actually, we don't have enough of them. So that's another point I wanted to bring up. And the third thing I wanted to bring up related to that with education and outreach is if you happen to know in DSNY's plans, if there are ever plans to go beyond public schools with education and outreach. Specifically, I'm thinking about the community of Borough Park, where most of the many children there go to private yeshivas, and where they don't receive any education on this whatsoever. And it would be really great to be able to spread education far and wide in communities. And that's my 3 points and soapbox. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, I can try to go through those quickly.
Okay.
So anecdotally, I agree with you. In my building, we had a bin during enforcement in April. As soon as enforcement stopped, my bin magically disappeared. No idea what happened to it. And I was sad about that because I wanted to throw out my organic waste and my bin was gone. And then, of course, up and down the street, you see which apartments do and don't have bins. And it's from my street, it looked like it was 30% had them. So, it also seemed to be anecdotally that, when enforcement was around, more bins existed. So that was, so I, anecdotally agree with that point. As far as bins go during the testimony and the preliminary budget, yes, they did cite that they're at Home Depot. I think there is a bit of a shortage based on some of the comments that were made during the preliminary budget hearing. I do also believe that you don't need a DSNY brown bin. You can designate any bin to be an organic waste bin. It might be easier for people to find if it's DSNY labeled and it's a brown bin and all of those things, but I don't think that property owners have to get a DSNY branded organics bin. Yeah.
I think there's some questions surrounding this because of the rules that are going into place about requiring trash cans, the certain city trash cans, for containerization for 1 to 9 unit buildings. And like the anecdotal reports that we got from the community board were also, it's unclear if they're going to continually pick up from, even though I know that same announcement was made about not, being able to use any bin.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of their. I mean, I don't know. I haven't talked to them about this, but that might just be their Band-Aid for now, that they don't have as many bins in circulation as they probably want. So yeah, I think that they need more bins, and that's something that they might be, for one reason or another, struggling with.
There's had a dispute with their vendor that was distributing that pulled out, and that left the city with Home Depot's income.
Okay.
Was there another question?
Just to also reiterate on some of the issues with access to brown bins, it's also a lot of times people don't understand how to fight back and how to get their buildings to participate. And oftentimes, sometimes the bins will disappear, or they'll have a very small bin for a 50-unit building, and it will be filled up by a certain point, and they will have nothing else, or they only put it out one day a week. So I think that in order for this to be fully studied about how this can actually be affected, certainly transportation and routing is one thing. I think building and actual access to being able to participate is another thing as well. Yeah. And I think that takes us to Matt, who will have another point to raise.
And can I say something about that?
Please do.
I'm riding the subway a lot. And noticing the ads on the subway, building your building, not participating, call 311, which is really amazing, because years ago we were here, DSNY came and we're like, why don't you do more ads? And they're like, well, they're really expensive. So, I mean, for some reason, their priorities have realigned, and they're putting it all over the subway. So
yeah, I will say I called 311 on my building, and they still didn't. Still no bin. So
So another avenue for exploration. Okay, great, Matt.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to make one or two observations in terms of looking at the cost of the current program that we have for organics, which is primarily waste export. And when you look at waste export costs, they're beginning to accelerate because they're primarily tied to inflation. And I think the recent update has been that I think we're looking at close to $600 million right now on waste export. And so when you look at the waste export, the components of waste export, by far organics is probably the largest component by weight. I mean, it's valuable to look at the $600 million fiscal cost of export through the lens of what is associated with each material stream by weight. So by far, the lion's share of that is associated with organics. Then there's the residual: paper, glass, metal, plastic, and then what's left over is trash, which should be probably surprisingly small. So when talking about the cost of the current program for organics, which is waste export, you'll find that it's probably somewhere to 30 to 40% of your $600 million cost today, on top of what we're doing on the curbside. So it's an important way of looking at it. The other issue is that there are two components to participation. There's you and me in our building, but the weight, it should be weighted also in a way of looking at what building staff's role is in recycling. In conventional recycling, building staff does a lot of work in terms of source separating recyclables. With food waste, it's different. They're not going to go through the trash and pull out food, but they are going to. When the fines were introduced, they were taking it very seriously, and then there was some back off, and I think that looking at the impact of outreach and education on building staff, when we're looking at the efficacy of outreach and education, is important, and the DSNY does keep track of both data sets, both on the residential side and on the building side. So there's just one or two observations.
Yeah, great points.
All right. Anything else? Anything else from the chat?
There were a couple questions.
Yeah, I think so. I think.
Where did they?
Yeah, Michael mentioned something about future compost sites in Brooklyn and New Jersey. I know you mentioned that in conversation with Frederick.
Yeah, I can send something about that, but that comes with our updating some of that cost data that we're talking about. So,
and then Allison talked a little bit about the fact that DSNY is not breaking out leaf and yard waste separately anymore.
Nope.
And I'm not sure how you would factor that into the analysis. Let's see. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. All right, excellent. And I also would be interesting to find out whether or not organics, to follow up on Matt's point, creates any increase in the staffing requirements for buildings. And if it has any benefits. We've also heard that if food is taken out from buildings with chutes, it results in less frequent cleanings being required because you don't have dirty trash going through the chutes. So there are positives and negatives. So kind of an interesting analysis there as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
You heard of the trash bag?
So Allison is adding that, I think just to sort of underscore what Matt was saying, we use language that describes organic waste as 43% of the waste we pay to export in black plastic garbage bags, rather than using the 34% indicated in the waste characterization study. Would IBO be able to start using that language, as I think it's much more impactful to say 43% of exported waste is organic? Combine organics and textiles, we could be reducing exported waste by close to 50%. That's a comment from Allison.
Okay.
Are we able to save the chat so that we have
access
to the comment?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to read about the 43% figure. I've only been using DSNYs, so if there's information about that I can read, I would totally be into reading it.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And Mary Arnold has a question.
All right.
Mary,
do you want to come off mute?
NYCtrash.com.
Yeah, this was great. I really appreciate. I don't think we've ever had a presentation from the IBO and heard you at the hearing, and it's really great that you're out and about like this. Really appreciate it. Just wanted to underscore how important it is to know exactly what's happening with organics, whether they're actually being composted or whether they're being taken to sewage treatment plants and co-digested with sewage. And just to go back to the idea of the export costs, in addition to avoiding export costs, there's a multiplier effect in handling these waste streams in a more environmentally responsible way, including composting instead of doing the co-digestion at the WRFs. I don't know whether you're aware, but there's a plan to increase co-digestion at Hunts Point. And if you're looking for places to save money, Jane Gajwani gave a presentation that indicated that only a fraction of the co-digestion capacity at Newtown Creek is being used. So if we're going to do this, handle organics in a way that is going to increase the multiplier effect the most and be the most environmentally and socially beneficial, perhaps capital costs can be avoided as well as the cost of exporting extra sewage sludge, which is laden with PFAS, toxic, and is now, everyone knows, a big problem when applied to farmland, contaminating food and water and such. So that's my comment. So, if you could find out what's really happening to them and look at that from an economic perspective, that would be so helpful.
Okay, yeah. Something I would be interested in looking into.
Ryan, you didn't say what prompted the IBO's exploration of this. Was it an external request or was it an internal done?
We were generally looking at waste stream trends. We received some data from DSNY. It was about.
There wasn't a council member
No.
or other external stakeholder group that asked you to do it.
No, it was just something that was internal that we were interested in. Honestly, I started personally June of last year, and this was something that was immediately given to me. And I was said, okay. Yeah.
Sounds good.
So if there's a specific thing that your group might want to, if there's something specific your group might want to request, though, we're definitely open to doing
that's
That's
something.
something IBO was actually required to sort of get an external request. I didn't realize you were sort of internally generating.
Not required, but we accept obviously anything.
Yeah, we also did, we had like a longtime director, Ronnie, that was there for 15, 20 years. And then Louisa started around 3 to 4 years ago. And she's been very, she boosted IBO's staff by probably 30 to 40%. The community engagement team that I'm part of was expanded in the last 3 to 4 years. So she's been very pushing us to go out, and even the work that Ryan's doing, she's go out and talk to groups that are really involved with the space. So yeah, we're really happy about it.
I'm glad you're able to come tonight.
Yeah,
That's
Thank you
fantastic.
so much, and thanks so much for
So
that.
we get your report.
Oh, it's published on IBO's website, and we will send it in a follow-up email for sure.
We sent
But
it
it's out.
We sent it in the email announcement. I'm not sure you saw it, but I can send it again.
Oh, I didn't read through it.
Okay, all right,
Oh, okay. And you can get on your mailing list?
Yes, we have a mailing list, IBO. So you'll get all of IBO's reports, not just the environmental ones. Yeah.
And as a final point, people were asking whether or not you're aware of the Track NYC Trash, which is a Manhattan and Brooklyn SWAB data initiative where
I
we
did write it down.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, we'll send
So
you a
I'm
link
going,
as
yeah.
well. All right,
Great,
perfect.
thank you.
All right, sounds good.
It takes it from open data and just sort of puts it into a more
Cool.
digestible format. And you can follow, where it goes from each sanitation district and also what the diversion rates from those districts are. And they update it every month.
Right.
Very cool.
All right.
Open data.
And Frederick, there's a QR code too if you want to get on their mailing list. They've conveniently provided it. So if anybody also wants to take a look at this and should get connected with IBO and their information.
Is it broken out by borough level or district level for the tracker?
It's borough and all the way down to community board. And community district.
Okay,
So
I'm
it
gonna
really
check out
goes down.
community board.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. All right, terrific. Well, I think if that is it, we want to just thank you so much for coming. This has been super informative, and it's wonderful to get to meet you. And we really appreciate your coming in and spending time talking with us tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you as well. This is a lot of fun.
And you're certainly welcome to stay, but I also understand you've got out of the so,
Yeah, I have to go.
Good luck.
All right, thank
Yeah.
you. Well, I'm sure the line is already around the.
Oh my gosh. No, it's going to be, I'm sending you goodbye.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
was-
Thank you.
Yeah, you
I have 5 of these.
Okay,
Same ones,
right?
so, yeah.
Exactly. All right, great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, have a great night.
You too.
Okay. Very good. All right, so with that, let's go to the next item up for bids. And I think it might be, and I might be screen sharing again. I think with the conclusion of the discussion.
Thank you.
Good night. Take care. Independent budgeting, we are gonna go next to the nominating committee, and we can double check real quick with you, Beth, to make sure that we have quorum.
We do have a quorum. I am wondering, are there any other members in the room? I can't see because you're very tiny on my screen besides you.
We've
and
got 3
Rhonda.
members here. In
You have
the,
how many in the room?
4. Is it Frederick?
Nope.
No,
Less than 10.
We want,
we love Frederick to be.
he's a firm non-joiner.
No. So we have 3 here.
His contributions nonetheless.
Okay. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, terrific. Okay. Michael, I can make you co-host if you'd like to present or say.
Okay.
Hold-
Let's see.
there you go.
Okay. So, thank you for we requested nominations from the popular, from the SWAB. Having received none, we have 4 nominees for the election to chair, vice chair, secretary, and sergeant at arms. Nominations were requested by email. None were received. If anyone would like to, they can nominate someone from the floor right now. But you got to do so quickly.
Window's closing, but it's open. So jump on it.
It's open. So, go ahead if you want to add someone to the chat, a nominee to the chat. Otherwise, we will move on to elect the slate. And since there are no competitive seats, these are the nominees. Whoops. Oh. These are the nominees. So I move that we elect the slate of nominees. All in favor? Raise your hand, your electronic hand. And the sergeant at arms will count.
Okay, all 3 are voting yes here in Brooklyn, Borough Hall.
As am I. For some reason, can't raise my hand and share my screen at the same time.
A majority of members present have voted yes.
All right. So the next question, are there any votes opposing the election of the slate of nominees? No? Yes.
I don't believe so.
Are there any abstentions?
I don't see it.
All right, then the slate of nominees is accepted. And then we have a new executive committee.
Woo! All right, terrific. Welcome, Devin. We've got a new member of the executive committee.
Yes.
Is Devin, I don't know if you're here tonight, if you wanted to, I don't mean to put you on the spot, apologies, but
no worries.
like to quickly introduce yourself, that would be terrific.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Devin. I'm honored to serve. I am an urban planner at New York City Parks, focusing mostly on coastal resilience, federally mandated congestion pricing mitigations, greenways, a bunch of other policy stuff. It's really fun, and I'm 2 weeks away from completing a master's degree in urban planning at Hunter College, and skipped out of class early tonight for the election. So,
Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations.
Thank you.
A little bit early, but that sounds super interesting, and we're really excited not only to have your viewpoints as a member of the SWAB, but also as a member of the executive committee. So thank you so much for stepping up. We're going to be so happy to be working with you. So thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. With that, I think we've got one other piece of business from the executive committee, and that's really quick talking about the April minutes. Now that everyone is in the mood of voting, I'd like to take a motion to see whether or not we'd like to move ahead and approve the April minutes. Rhonda, I would.
I move that we approve the April minutes.
I'll second your motion.
Okay, great. And let's just take a quick vote and we'll move on. Thanks, Sandy. We see your hand up. Rhonda and my hand up.
I like it when it says talking squirrel. Yeah, I think that should be the name
Yes,
of
the motion has passed.
All right, great. Thank you so much. The one other thing from the executive committee, we have set a meeting for a SWAB kind of special committee discussion of the bylaws. It is set for May 29th at 4:15. So I will put it on the SWAB calendar. We're just kind of finalizing it. Just need to double check that works for everybody. It doesn't work for you? No. All right, well, we'll see if it works for the majority of the other people. And within the body of the invite that will come out shortly will be the existing bylaws and some existing recommendations for the bylaws. We'll take further recommendations on the bylaws from the body of the SWAB, and we will talk about it within that meeting. If we need another meeting after that for further discussion, we will have that. There's no deadline for it. We are doing a 10-year update, so we are not pressed by any specific date.
I might be able to participate virtually, but
that's perfect. It'll definitely be virtual. Okay, very good. And with that, I think we've done nominations and we've done the executive committee, and I think at this point, we'd love to hear from the Borough President's Office.
Hi, everyone. I'm Casey from the Borough President's Office. I don't really have anything this month. I always say that and then I come up with something.
Yeah.
But really, the only thing right now is that we're waiting. As the IBO mentioned, the executive budget has been delayed. It's supposed to come out on May 12th, and then that will be followed by the series of hearings as usual. We'll be submitting our executive budget response. So, we'll be monitoring that hearing. We'll be kind of collecting our thoughts about it. And if there's anything that you all want to make sure that we're paying special attention to in our response that is submitted to the mayor and to the council, please bring it to my attention as we get more details on the budget.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very good. If there aren't any questions, I would like to move forward to coalition updates. And if Sherry is here, if she could give us an update on Save Our Compost.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Rhonda. I'm Sherry. I'm the Save Our Compost Coalition liaison. And just one quick background for folks that don't know, the community compost budget is currently funded through the city council and not Department of Sanitation. So we're awaiting updates on the city's budget. As we said, it sounds like it's coming out May 12th. So we have that coming up. There's a few organizational things going on within the coalition right now, but I will put our website in that chat that is for thanking your city council member. Basically, that's what we encourage folks to do because they are the ones funding a number of programs, including Master Composter Program, which is my day job, as many of you know. So so that's the quick version there. But I will put that in the chat and we can make sure it's in the meeting notes as well. A link to send out thank you emails to your city council members. So that's it.
Terrific. Thank you, Sherry. And on Reusables NYC, Uli, I'm not sure if you have an update.
Oh, is Uli still with us?
Yeah, is Uli?
It took me a while to find the unmute button.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I wasn't able to attend that meeting.
Okay, great. All right, no problem. Understood. And with that, I'd like to go over to committee reports, starting with legislative. I know Bella is on a fabulous vacation celebrating her parents' 50th wedding anniversary in Italy. And so Mary Arnold has been so kind as to step in and she's going to give us an update.
Thank you. As far as the legislative committee goes, in our testimony on composting, co-digestion, and sewage sludge, SWAB members have voted consistently for composting of organics versus co-digestion, and to not use sewage sludge on farmland to produce food because it contains PFAS and many other toxics. So at the April 6th hearing on the 2026 revised draft solid waste management plan, before New York City Council Chair Justin Sanchez, DSNY said this. There's a Mary Ellen, I think, is going to cue this up.
Okay. So let's see. Let me. I'm going to share my screen real quick. You got it? Ooh, hold on.
Oh, wait a second. Oh, you have to go back and make sure you're sharing sound.
Okay.
Yep. You need to like unshare it.
Just put the mic next to your computer.
Well, no, I mean it'll be better. It'll be much better.
Okay.
Just unshare it and then.
Okay.
And then
share. And
then when you share it again, it's over to the right. I think you have to click a box.
Share sound. Got it. Yep.
I forget that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I love that Sandy's always so right.
What specifically will DSNY do to ensure that our waste management practices do not intensify the burdens associated with biosolids derived from sewer sludge that is produced via the digestion processes?
So, I think first and foremost, DEP is responsible for the biosolids management program. The SWAB does account for biosolids. We are required to under the DC regulations. But we did a lot of engagement with DEP. They are the sort of lead there, so we just incorporated their planning and approach in the plan. Jen, anything else you want to say there?
I will say that is one section that we updated post first draft, both based on public comment and input, and also DEP's revisions to this section, as the commissioner mentioned. Though that portion of the plan was updated to reflect some of the concerns expressed through the comments, but also the changing regulatory landscape for that material.
Thank you.
Okay, so you heard the important part from Jen McDonald, that the biosolids section of the swamp was revised based on public comment and the changing regulatory landscape. So the SWAB public comment on the biosolids section is number 5, compost and composting versus co-digestion and biosolids. It starts on page 17. And that was in line with our policies to prioritize composting of organics and not to make more toxic sludge that has to be exported by co-digesting curbside organics with sludge. Mary Ellen, can you put the document in the chat maybe? And then there's a short film by the Sierra Club that explains how and why the regulatory landscape for biosolids is changing, as DSNY noted in its testimony. And I'm just going to put that link in the chat. I don't know whether that's going to help here, but would it be easier to pull it off of the chat, Mary Ellen?
Maybe so. Let me see.
Okay.
Let's see.
This is about 11 minutes long, but it's worth watching. These are mainly people from upstate, and they really explain why, New York City should not be creating more toxic sewage sludge by co-digesting our organics with sewage.
Let's see. I'm not sure, Rhonda, if you want to give it a try. I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me try it then.
Okay.
Okay, so I will.
I think I'm going to get the echo again.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's see if I
The
can.
echo is actually happening because you're in the room, and so the sound is coming from the room. So if you mute yourself while you do it, then that takes the echo away.
The difficulty is that I don't have, I haven't joined audio for Zoom. So I don't think there's
No,
a way.
you just have to mute Borough Hall. So we don't hear your sound from the
Borough
room.
Hall was muted. I think it was on.
No, I muted you midway through, and that's what cleared it up.
Just okay.
Okay.
Mary Arnold, can you share it?
And if not, we can just provide the link and everyone can.
The link is in the chat. Yeah.
Or Beth, can you share it? Beth, why don't you share it?
Okay, I can share it.
Thank you.
Give me a moment.
Oh, Alice and Ellen. I was also at a conference recently where someone mentioned they were talking to someone in Texas who said they were getting New York City sewage sludge and not particularly happy about it.
And avoid Texas.
Yeah. The farmers.
Well, you know they're not gonna ban it.
Yeah, in Texas.
Sorry. We might need to just watch it on our own time, but
All right.
I'm giving it one more try. Here we go.
You just have to make sure you click the button. There we go.
Kendall, whatever you're doing.
Oh yeah, you have to mute your sound, Kendall.
If you could not be
There's no sound right in the
let them go in the crack.
There we go.
Crack. No, not going in the crack. Hey, it kind of stops them from having. That's just kid things we always did. I played in the creek. My kids played in the creek. Now the grandkids can't play in the creek.
We noticed the smell first. It smelled like rot and lingered for weeks. It's musty. It has a faint, like a manure smell to it, but different. And it was pungent. I mean, it really was just the worst thing I've ever smelled.
It was so bad you couldn't hang your clothes out, because if you hung your clothes out and brought them in, they smelled like sewage sludge.
Sewage sludge is an unwanted byproduct of wastewater treatment. The sewage that goes into the wastewater treatment plant, which its purpose is to try to get the wastewater as clean as possible. And there's an outfall pipe, and that wastewater, once it's treated, goes into a receiving body of water, like a river, the ocean, or a lake. The sewage sludge is the leftover solids.
My name is Tim Hargrave. Live in Cameron, New York. This is a small family farm that I grew up on. Youngest 10 kids. Probably in the 80s, I guess, is when I first heard that the sewage sludge was being spread around here. Well, initially, other than the smell, we didn't think it was that big of a deal. It just started happening.
Growing up in the 90s, there used to be large tankers that would go by our childhood home hauling the sludge, and you could smell it, especially in the summer months.
When sewage sludge is hauled away, a few different things can happen to it. It can go into a landfill, and much of it does, or it can be put on farms.
But all these fields, we're going to go around the block.
Everything you see right here is all the sludge operation from years ago. So coming up here on your right, that's the original sludge lagoon, and that's originally where they dumped it in. And you can see the pipe that's in there. They used to drain out of that pipe into their big spreading machines.
That's the pipe that stuff always comes out of when it rains.
Yeah.
I showed you the picture of the lagoon, the 6 million gallon lagoon. We hired a plane that was taken 800 feet above that lagoon. And the pilot told me, he said, I've got to get out of here. I'm going to throw up my own plane.
We thought it would pass, and it definitely did not. And then the next thing I know is my daughter's screaming. She's 11. She's screaming from the shower. We go in the shower and her water's brown. The water was brown for probably a month and a half, but it only went away a couple weeks after the final time that they sprayed.
It took a while before we found out where it came from and what was in it.
I think there's confusion around what sewage sludge is and what it isn't. What it is not is a safe fertilizer. What it is an industrial toxic waste. And it always is. It's very consistent in its high level of contamination.
I knew how it smelled. I knew what it did to my water. I knew about E. coli and coliform, but I didn't know about PFAS until I talked to a guy at Cornell Cooperative Extension who said, you need to have your water tested for PFAS.
What I learned about PFAS was it was very dangerous. I knew nothing about it.
PFAS chemicals can affect so many parts of the body in adverse ways. Not many chemicals have such a breadth of effect. That's a quote.
PFAS are a family of synthetic chemical compounds. There are about 15,000 and counting. And they're highly water resistant. They've been incorporated into the metal finishing business, textiles, the carpet business. They stick around for a long, long time. They're nearly impossible to get rid of. And they cause tremendous harm to human and ecological health.
And everyone has stories in the area of someone who died of cancer, late 40s, early 50s, and everyone always suspects it could be linked to, isn't proven, but so everyone knows someone like that. So.
I think about this sometimes when my kids are taking a shower. When my daughter's singing Taylor Swift, I think, what is she ingesting right now? And is it going to cause kidney failure? Is she going to get thyroid cancer? Is she not going to be able to have children later in life because of these issues? That's, I think, what people need to recognize.
Right now, the land around us has been spread for 30 years. We know the land, the soil is contaminated. And right now, all the hay that is grown on these fields where the PFAS has been spread for many years is harvested and taken to a big, huge farm, dairy farm, in a neighboring town. I'm worried that the milk and the milk products are contaminated with PFAS. Nobody tests them. I think about that every time my grandchild wants a glass of milk or wants milk on their cereal. Am I feeding that child PFAS?
Once Casella came in, they were absolutely wanting the town board to do something.
Those wastewater treatment plants in particular are contracting the sludge management, processing, hauling to companies. And those companies are private equity companies such as Goldman Sachs. There's really just a handful of corporations who are in this business of processing sewage sludge and hauling it and bringing it to farms across the nation. There's really just a handful of them, and this is a multi-billion-dollar business.
The Casella Corporation, once they come in, they really started trying to convince us there's a good thing. The more they try to convince us, it's obvious that they weren't looking out for our best interest at all. They came in thinking they were going to just snowball over top of us. We were just a bunch of, local hicks that didn't know much. And they didn't realize how well informed we were and how organized we could become if they fought us.
I formed the group, the Cameron Committee for a Safe Environment. We began researching through DEC. We became involved in the town, asking questions and demanding answers.
The biggest concern was certainly groundwater contamination from the sewage sludge, because everyone has private wells here. So that was the main concern. There was the lack of DEC oversight was a huge concern, because there are stipulations on how close they can spread to, private wells, but, there's been documented instances of spreading right over wells, so that was an issue. Certainly the increased truck traffic was an issue, but also then the air quality, from the trucks, as well as the sewage sludge itself, that was concerned. And then several concerns, but then down the list is, a lot of people in the area hunt and fish. So they are, fishing in waters that the fish are contaminated with PFAS, and then certainly the wildlife can be contaminated as well. So I was concerned.
I got in contact with DEC. They said that they would look into it. Then they told me there was nothing they could do. Then they told me that it was from an out-of-state contract, and that out-of-state contracts were very difficult to try to regulate. And then essentially the Albany County Health Department started reaching out to some folks around the field, and they found that 9 households were the water was contaminated.
I grew up on a dairy farm. At the highest point, we milked about 270 Holsteins. The first time we had anything in the town of New Scotland that brought it to our attention was when we had some complaints. And that's when I talked to the county executive in Albany and explained to him my concerns coming from my background and where I am today, that we need to pause something here. And that's when, thankfully, he took action to pause it in Albany County, at least.
The previous, we'll say the land spreading family, they had a land spreading permit through DEC. Their plan was to transfer that permit to Casella Organics. So we stepped in, passed a moratorium. It was a solid waste management, practice. It dealt with any of the permitted waste disposal activities that DEC oversees, and it also included the transfer permits. So that stopped them. It was a 1-year moratorium. In May of 2025, we moved forward and we passed a local law that prohibits the construction of any composting facility.
I think New York State and counties and towns in New York are helping lead the way. They're looking at land application of sewage sludge and just seeing how wrong it is. And this doesn't have to be a complicated, costly problem. We can do that. We get serious about volume reduction. We focus on the largest wastewater treatment plants, and we help the small ones out as much as we can with expertise, with funding. And I think what states like New York will find is not only can they tackle this problem, but they can save money. If they take the money out of the pockets of big business and put it back into the control of the taxpayer and the lawmakers who really care about this issue and about New York public's health.
Okay, thank you for your patience. Can you hear me now?
No. No. Thank you, Mary.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to say one more thing. Thank you for your patience. I just thought that was really important for everybody to see. You know, these are real human beings and land and our food on the other end of this. So at last week's legislative committee meeting, the committee agreed to reaffirm our policy remarks on sewage sludge to Assemblymember Kellis. She and Senator Pete Harckham are sponsoring funding in the New York State budget and legislation to pause the land application of sewage sludge statewide while there is testing of PFAS levels in soil, water, and biosolids, and a sea change from past years when the New York Farm Bureau supported land application of sludge as fertilizer. They are not opposing this. So just want to thank everybody, and we're just going to keep after this. We're privileged to work with these people, and thank you for your support, and please come to the legislative committee meetings. Thank you.
Yeah, terrific. Thank you so much, Mary. All right, great. Next up, outreach and events. Jason is.
We've never had such a multimedia presentation.
I know, right? Jason is having a meeting with, or he's speaking to the HES committee at Community Board 2. So he's not able to be with us tonight, but progressing with outreach to community boards. And he is planning a second visit to Circular Services at the end of this month. And he'll be sending out information about that shortly. If Liz Roisman is here, she could give us a quick update on the Riverkeeper event that we had on May 2nd. And I think Ellie Lee or Lai is here, who was one of the participants. So great to see you, Ellie. Thanks for coming. But Liz, if you're here, it'd be great if you could share.
Yeah, hi. So we had the annual Riverkeeper event on Saturday, May 2nd. This is our third year doing it. We had about 20 people come out and volunteer. And that included some SWAB members, including myself, Mary Ellen, Debbie, Michael, and Uli. I hope I got everybody.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and we got a lot of volunteers through the Parks Department website, through the Sanitation Foundation website, and through Riverkeeper. And we cleaned up Bush Terminal Park and Sunset Park. This was our first year doing it. Uli connected us with Partnership for Parks that put us in contact with the person who manages South Brooklyn Parks. So we were able to set that up. And Mary Ellen applied for a Sanitation Foundation grant. So we have to do 3 cleanups this year to be worthy of the supplies they provided for us. So we got 1 out of 3 down. And the person we were coordinating with from Parks, she was like, "Oh, I cleaned up the park this morning." And I was like, "Why? There was a cleanup that was gonna happen." But we still found a lot of trash. There was a lot of trash on the riprap going down to the water. So we collected about 27 bags and about 165 pounds in less than 2 hours. It's also a great recruiting opportunity because it draws people who don't know about SWAB. And I think Ellie is here tonight. She participated in a cleanup on Saturday. So we always want to attract more people to the cause. So thank you, everybody who worked hard to put it together. I can circulate some photos of the event.
All right, thanks so much, Liz. And Liz brought fruit, Michael brought bagels, I brought some baked goods, so it was definitely fun. And we've got our next event, I think, with the Newtown Creek Alliance, which Liz formed a partnership with them. It's on June 6th at Maria Hernandez Park. We're going to be sending information out, so if more people can join, that would be terrific. So thank you so much. Next up is organics. If Allison is here, if you give us a quick update on what's going on with you.
Yeah, well, we have our committee meeting on Monday, so probably the best thing would be for people to come to the meeting. We have made a connection to somebody who manages 30 apartment buildings on the Upper East Side, so we're hoping to have a meeting with them to see what we can figure out, see if we can assess how recycling and composting is going, and we may have an opportunity to present to 32BJ also. So I think those are some of the things, but come on Monday. Everybody probably needs help with organics in their building, so please come.
Okay, great. You've got Kimberly who'd love to join, but she's teaching a class. So we'll keep working on it. And I believe the invite to the meeting is within the Brooklyn calendar. So if anyone wants to check out the details, you can see it there. Next up, NYCHA, we've got Susan Fraser is in the house. And if Susan, if you can give us an update, that would be fabulous.
Oh, hi. The May meeting is the day after tomorrow, Thursday at 5:30. And probably there'll be, we'll be scheduling the family days that at the NYCHA projects, which this committee is going to do tabling and activities, educational activities. So I'm looking forward to attending one or more of those events.
All right. Terrific. Thank you, Susan. And we'll be looking forward to hearing more information and hopefully get some volunteers for that event too. Thank you so much. All righty. That's it for committees. I think we put some information about events within the open forum. I just wanted to remind everybody on May 7th, the Queen SWAB and the Queen Public Library is organizing a book talk with Beth Gardner. She is the author of Plastic Ink, The Secret History and Shocking Future of Big Oil's Biggest Bet, which we know is plastic. And they plan to triple production by 2050, I believe. So we can learn a lot more if we attend that event. It's from 6 to 7:30 at Queens Public Library at Hunters Point, Long Island City. The details are also within the Brooklyn SWAB calendar if people are interested. And we talked about the cleanup on June 6th. Is there anything anybody else would like to share? No? Anything from the Zoom world? All righty. I think that's it.
I'm sorry, one thing. The mayor and the commissioner recently announced an expansion of curbside containerization on high bins.
Right.
And including, I think it's a CB9.
Okay. Correct. Yep.
So it'd be useful for us to have some connection with CB9 as that gets sort of explained and rolled out.
Good point. All right, we'll keep track of that. I know that
CB8. I'm on CB9.
Okay.
CB8 just this side.
Okay.
No, CB8 is like
I think
it's all good stuff. CB3, yeah, it's like kind of.
All right, so we'll check into it. We'll check into it. I know that Jason's working on it, and so we'll see about that. We can also reach out to our Department of Sanitation contact, the man who came and spoke to us on that one, and he might be able to help us coordinate and reach out to them as well.
Yeah, and Lincoln Ressler spoke about it. We've had several people speak about it.
Right.
As it's been on rolling.
But if we want to bring it up to the new committee as well. But I think that we're also speaking and checking in on how things are going within CB2 and how they're enjoying it, how the schools are experiencing it. So more to come on that one. So that should be an interesting thing to follow. All right.
Sounds right.
And Michael's got some paint collection events. So if anyone has any paint that they're interested in getting rid of, you can check out the link from Michael Reader. All right.
Unexpected story.
Yes.
I was waiting for a bus on Flatbush Avenue, and it was a Redeemer came along. There was large plastic trash bag in front of this closed store.
Okay.
He opened it, and he had a see-through bag to collect the recyclables, and he spent 10 minutes taking out. There was so many cans and bottles in there.
Yeah.
So if we didn't know that compliance was terrible, it is.
At no cost to taxpayers.
Right. Yeah.
These low-income entrepreneurs are doing their work at no cost to taxpayers.
Oh yeah, and one final thing, I know that Beyond Plastic is having a lobby day in Albany on May 11th to focus on the Plastic Reduction and Recycling Infrastructure Act. And I believe I saw something from Harcum today saying that it was approved out of the Environmental and Conservation Committee in the Senate. So there's movement on the Senate side, but there's always movement on the Senate side. So, all righty. I think that's it. Thank you all so much. What's going on with the DSNY orange bins? That's a good question. We will dig into that next time. They did talk about, I didn't think they were expanding anything, but there was some comments about possibly expanding. So we'll dig into that for next time. Thank you so much, Debbie. And thank you everyone for coming tonight. And we'll be sending information out so everyone can get access to the film and to the IVO report. And we'll also provide a link for their newsletter. Thank you so much and have a great evening. Take care.
Thank you.